So we're going to have a public hearing first. You ready? Roger, you ready? Yeah.
Adjust the agenda for that presentation.
Public hearing called to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann.
Here.
Councilman McBride.
Here.
Councilman Harrell.
Here.
Councilman Stamey.
Here.
Councilman Hatmaker.
Here.
Councilman Fair.
Here.
Mayor Burton.
Here. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing this evening is on ordinance number 641. This is amending the mobile food truck vending regulations. Is anyone here wish to speak on that? Is that a yes back there? Oh, she's talking to the little girl. I'm sorry. With that being said, a motion to adjourn public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Public hearings adjourned. Regular agenda. Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann.
Here.
Councilman McBride.
Here.
Councilman Harrell.
Here.
Councilman Stamey.
Here.
Councilman Hatmaker.
Here.
Councilman Fair.
Here.
Mayor Burton.
If you want to. Here. Do you hear a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The prayer this evening will be given by Councilman Gann. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Before the prayer, I would like to take a moment of silence for someone that we lost this month. Sam Dean was a really good man in the community and certainly a friend of the council.
Father, we thank Thee for people who take an interest in fellow citizens, in their community, and in what goes on around them, and make no pretense about their beliefs and where they stand on things. That was Sam Dean. Father, we know he's blessed today being with you. We mourn his loss because of what he did for the city of Clinton. We pray now that his influence will continue to bless our city, that he will continue to be a highlight for what has happened here. Be with us in all that we endeavor to do as a council, that we may reflect good citizenship, good knowledge, and good judgment. Be with us now in all that we do, for it's in thy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry. Do I hear a motion for the review and approval of minutes of the previous meeting dated April 22nd, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll
Hang on
recognize...
just a second. There was something there. I'm sorry. The very end, I think it said that Councilman Jim McBride made the motion to adjourn. I wasn't here.
You were here in spirit. You were here in spirit.
You normally do.
So I don't know.
I'll
Yeah.
change.
That's not that
Would you
big.
just, would
It's
you
not
just
that
look
big a
back
deal.
and see who actually...
Just redundant.
Okay.
Okay.
I usually don't wait. I usually just go ahead and hit the
Your
gavel.
influence is carrying over.
Thank you.
I voted.
I'll do it.
At this time, we'll recognize visitors and citizens to share any grievance or praise. Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Meg Harrison. I'm just here from the library this afternoon to let everybody know that our summer reading program started on Friday. We started registration. We've already registered 160 people. We hope everyone will hop over and join us. Our launching program starts next Monday night. It's an after-hours program. The Knoxville observers will be down to visit us with their really nice high-powered telescopes to give everyone a nice close-up look at their universe. We are having a space-themed summer reading program this year, so everything's going to be space-themed in cue with the 50th anniversary of the Apollo mission. So I brought brochures for everybody, and anyone who's interested, just hop on over if I don't have enough, and get some more. We'll be open till 7 this evening.
Great, thank you. Make sure you have a lot of people in the crowd that might be interested too.
Yeah, I see several of my regulars. I'll just pass those to you guys and let you go.
Meg, how's the library funding looking this year? Are y'all looking okay, or not that we're going to give you any money, but we were just wondering.
We're making do. Fiscal year ends next month, and it looks like we're going to make it through to the end. Our Friends of the Library has been really generous this summer. They've funded our summer reading program very well,
Good,
and I think we're okay right now.
good.
Yes, sir.
Okay is not bad. Meg, if you want to go ahead and grab those, and again, I'd pass them out to the crowd and make sure everybody has one. Is there anyone else? Anyone else? Communications from the mayor, just a few things. I have my Market Street information here. We have had a great Bloomsday on April 13th. Our first market night was May 17th. I think it was pretty well attended. The upcoming events is Friday, June 21st and Friday, August 19th. And that's with the food trucks and everything, Don? Am I saying that right? Okay. And y'all didn't get all this last part, but for the council, the Merchants Association did collect over $5,000 to pay for their portion of the billboards on I-75. So those were given to the city, I guess, last week sometime, Gail. So certainly appreciate that and enjoy the partnership we have there. Moving on, City School Board report. Ms. Johnson?
The good news is you don't have to listen to me tonight for the report. I have brought much more exciting people to give the Clinton City report tonight. But you see that we've got several of our sixth grade students with us today. They embarked on a challenge that actually was initiated by Councilman Harrell and City Manager Roger Hauk to address the algae in Town Springs Pond. And so Kimberly Odell, one of our wonderful sixth grade teachers, wrote a grant to ORAU to receive some funds for them to do some exploration, data collecting, and some brainstorming to come up with a potential solution for how we could deal with the algae in Town Springs. So that's a little introduction, but I'm going to let them stand up and tell about the research that they did, the data they collected, and the potential solution that they have come up with. We had intended to show they've developed an interactive website as well with the work that they did. We were unable to get that to connect after an hour of trying today. So they're going to look at it for their notes, but then I will push that out to all council members, and then for the public that wants to see, we will have that on our website at clintonschools.org, and please take time to check that out. So at this time, Ms. Odell, if you would like for your students to come up and tell us about the fabulous work that they did.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Cardall, and I'm doing the introduction. The city of Clinton has been battling an algae problem in Town Springs Pond for about 20 years. The pond's bottom is cement and is fed by 2 wet weather springs. The pond has 2 outlets that lead to the Clinch River, which supplies drinking water to the residents of Clinton. The pond used to be one big circle. In an effort to control the algae, an 8-foot fountain was placed in the center to aerate the pond, but it did not keep the algae from coming back. The Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, or TWRA, proposed using carp to eat the algae. The TWRA brought in about 300 small, 2 to 3 inch long carp. This solution worked for about a week. However, the carp were so small that they could easily be eaten by cranes. Next, they added 6 large carp. This helped to control the algae population for about 6 months until a big rain came and flooded the pond, sending the carp all the way to the football field. The city filled in the center of the pond, creating 2 faster-moving streams of water, yet the algae still grew. Different types of algicide were attempted, however the algicide drains too quickly out of the pond to be an effective means of population control. Last year, at a town hall meeting, Mr. Harrell, a member of the city council, suggested that Miss Odell and her 6th grade students attempt to solve the algae problem of Town Springs Pond. Mr. Hauk, the city manager, agreed and began working with the students toward a solution. Clinton City Manager Roger Hauk shared information about the pond. The class took notes on everything Mr. Hauk had said had been tried to solve the algae problem in Town Springs Pond over the years. It's connecting.
The students went over to the Town Springs Pond and they took some notes on the different sections of the pond. Some things that we noticed while we were there is that in the sections where water was coming into the pond, the turbidity levels on one end were 14 inches and on the other end it was 11 inches. We noticed that in one section of the pond where the water was coming in, there was a plant growing there, and interestingly enough, the nitrogen levels were lower in that section of the pond than in other sections. We also noticed that the temperature at that time was around 16.1 degrees Celsius and that there was algae present throughout the pond. Algae grew on the sides, on the top, and at the bottom of the pond, even where the stream was moving. We have a slow connection.
My name is Keegan Skaggs, and I did the lab work part of the website. The water we tested had an excessive amount of nitrogen and a low level of phosphorus. These are 2 nutrients that feed algae growth. The nitrogen level was at 3.0 parts per million, which is 10 times greater than required for a healthy pond. The phosphorus level was at 0.2 parts per million, which is slightly elevated to a healthy level of 0.1 parts per million.
Our internet's going slow, isn't it, guys?
They can,
Here we go.
Roger, they connect to ours?
Is that what you need? Oh, we're waiting on research. There we go.
Hello, my name is Silas Moore, and at the beginning we researched what algae needed to grow and discovered that algae needs nitrates, phosphorus, and sunlight to survive. Since there was an excessive amount of nitrogen in the pond, we researched what would help get rid of the nitrates. We also researched other ways that people have helped get rid of nitrates in the pond.
My name is Andrew Vo, and I did the conclusions. Adding fish doesn't work because the city originally tried to put fish in the pond. However, the bigger fish get flooded out, and the smaller fish get eaten by cranes. Speeding up the water doesn't work because the algae is still growing. And algaecide doesn't work either because the tunnel is taking the water out too fast. Adding fountains doesn't work either because fountains are used to raise the dissolved oxygen levels, making the nitrogen lower. However, the fountains are doing that too slow. We have concluded that the high nitrogen levels in the pond are assisting the overgrowth of algae. Based on the features of the pond, such as its concrete bottom, the two streams taking the water in, and the tunnels that are taking the water out, we conclude that the next possible solution is a species that will compete for nitrogen.
Hi, my name's Ashley Elcott, and I did our model. Town Springs Pond has a concrete bottom and is fed by 2 underground streams. The pond continuously drains into the Clinch River. The center of the pond has been filled to create a current of water. Our model was built by attaching yard edging to a kiddie pool with caulk. The centerpiece was filled with rocks. Pumps were added to either side to stimulate the pond's fresh water spring.
My name is Connor Isabel, and I did the second part of our model. Even though we were able to make our model in a classroom setting, there are still many limitations to it. The first limitation is that there's a continuous amount of new water coming in and out of the Town Springs Pond, but our model reuses the same water using pumps and tubing. To help combat this, we added new water every week to our model. The second limitation to our model is that it is not exposed to elements such as temperature changes, precipitation, and living organisms. Our model is in a temperature-controlled room with little exposure to the elements. We place our model next to a window to expose sunlight. The last limitation to our model was that there is many different types of algae in the Town Springs Pond, but there's only one type of algae in our pond.
Once we built our model and had a healthy algae population growing, we added plants as a biological filter where the water pours into the pond. We added Ogon Sweet Flag that we purchased from Willow Ridge Garden Center. The pond expert agreed with us that there was only one option, a plant filter.
The Ogon Sweet Flag plants were able to decrease the amount of nitrates in our model pond. Another effect of adding these plants is the presence of white bubbly scum, dissolved organic compounds, which indicates that the algae is dying. On day 1, when we added the plants, we had a large, healthy algae population. 7 days following, the presence of dissolved organic compounds were formed inside the water. On the 14th day, algae was disintegrating when we were picking it up with tweezers.
Based on our research, we recommend using the testing of the use of biological filters in Town Springs Pond to control the algae problem. We recommend the following steps. First, manually clean the algae from the pond. Second, create a biological filter of plants in the bog area of each end of the pond where the water flows in. We think that plants should be added as a natural filter because when we did, we quickly had results of white pond scum, which meant the algae was decreasing. The plant reduces nitrates from the algae and needs nitrogen to live.
We'd like to thank ORU for supplying us with the lab materials used in this investigation. And we'd also like to thank Willow Ridge Gardening Center for providing assistance in choosing the right plants to use in our pond model, and for confirming that our plan to test plants as biological filters was sound.
And I would like to thank Mr. Harrell for just tossing out this challenge or this idea to us last year. And Mr. Hauk, I would like to thank you for working with our students on this project. It has been a great experience, so thank you.
And so just so you know, Jason Brown and Roger Hauk actually have already gone back to Willow Ridge, and they have purchased that exact plant and have already planted that in Town Springs Pond. And so we'll be watching to see if that helps address the algae problem or not. And then, boys and girls, Mr. Hauk has given you something special today, if you want to tell them what they have received.
Yeah, Mayor, actually, we have presented on each one of the kids who worked on this project one of the challenge coins that we used back that we gave the city employees when President Obama came. It's got the presidential seal on one side and then our city seal on the second side. And also we gave them one of our city lapel pins that has the city logo on it, city seal.
Yes.
And actually, Willow Ridge donated the plants. We didn't have to purchase them. They actually worked with the kids on donating some of the equipment they needed for the project. So I contacted Gene Marlowe to see if they had any in stock. We were going to purchase them. He was more than happy, donated probably over 30 plants to put in the pond. So thank him also.
So when you look at our focus on STEM in Clinton City Schools, this is the perfect example of using science, math, technology, engineering to do problem solvings of real world situations. And so boys and girls, you are to be commended. Yes?
Doctor, I have a question for the class. Obviously, this is great work. What is the source of the nitrates? Does anybody know? Anybody want to speculate? I mean, you're plenty smart enough to figure out a solution. Figured it might be nice to hear that. Anybody know? Anybody want to take a shot at it?
Let's get it back there.
There are two springs two little creeks that lead into it, that lead in water, new water every single time. The nitrates must be coming from there and out of the pond.
So somewhere out of the upstream drain.
Yep.
And you don't have any idea what that might be?
We didn't really research that.
Well, I'm sure you didn't. I was just curious.
Richard, they're looking for a grant, if you might want to talk to them after. You know what cracked me up was during the news, I forgot which kid, well, I think it was a male, that proudly stated that the city of Clinton couldn't figure this out in 20 years.
Yes.
And,
Yes, and
they
if you
found
watched,
out
I think it was the WAT or the WBR one, the very last comment, there was a
Yeah.
young lady that took great joy that they had solved a problem that adults could not solve. So,
that was
thank
good.
you so much.
Thanks, Kelly.
Boys and girls, as much as exciting as City Council is, if you would like to go ahead and enjoy your evening, you are welcome to leave at this time, or you're welcome to stay.
Thank you all.
Sure that wasn't your idea, Scott? You're the great delegate.
I never take ownership of those anyway. Mr. Ray.
That's what I was just thinking, follow that. You got any phosphorus or nitrate?
I think turbidity is clarity, maybe? I don't know. That's about all I got. We had a budget amendment for your approval, budget amendment number 3. The summary page that was included in our board packet did have a typographical error. There's a little transposition. The total budget amendment increase of expenditures in the general purpose fund is $392,550. I think so 392 in your board packet, it says 329. The detail is correct. The summary page does have a typo. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the general purpose budget amendment. The federal projects budget amendment is a reclassification of expenditures, and there's no budget amendment for cafeteria fund.
Let me get a motion on this. Hear a motion for approval on budget number 3.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Scott, one question I had on this, is this money some of this money's already been spent?
Yes.
That's the property that's been acquired, that's already?
Correct. That's already-
What we've taken care of, okay.
Correct.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Farrer?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes. Budget number 3 passes.
I'd be happy to address any questions you have on the financial statements, and if none, that's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Scott?
Thank you.
Have you had a good night's sleep yet?
No. Not a bit.
You won't anytime soon.
I'm seeing double, so it's okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Clinton Regional Planning Commission report, Councilman Gann.
Before I go over this, I will say that situation at Town Springs is probably it is more than 20 years. It was going on when I was in elementary school.
Wow.
And that was more than 20 years ago.
That's when he had to pay all he had to pay all getting water there at that time.
And it was going on when Mr. Stamey was in there, and he's been there before I was in there.
You're older than I am.
Yeah.
He said that all that.
Yeah, he did.
Get the right paper here. The Clinton Regional Planning Commission met on May the 13th. The Board of Zoning and Appeals had no business, so the only business was the Regional Planning Commission. The deferred business was Alex McGrew and DeJuan Brewer requesting rezoning of their properties. That has been put on hold by the Planning Commission until the Historic Zoning Commission takes action. New business, Raymond McDonald requesting final plat review for property located at Harbor Drive and Indian Ridge Lane, and that was postponed at the request of the filers. Then Stephen and Georgia Combs requesting final plat review for property located at lots 27, 28, and 29 Worthington Place. This is a plat redivision. No changes or anything except they're redividing it and they needed the appropriate signatures, and that was approved pending getting those appropriate signatures. And then finally, applicant Thomas R. Hicks Construction requesting preliminary approval for property located at Frank Price Boulevard. This is a property that you've heard about before. This is the property behind the Walgreens at Anderson County High School. It was originally thought they were going to put in townhouses, but due to working with the developer and various other things, they've decided to change this over to individual dwellings. It will mean that instead of about 76, I believe, there will be 51. So there will be 51 individual dwellings, two-level, two-car, that will probably, I think, I'm not clear on the cost of them, but it'll be more expensive than the townhouses were. So this is simply a change in direction by the company, and really no changes from when we had previously approved it, other than the fact that there will probably have to be some variances because you're talking about 51 individual residents that, according to the drawings, will probably have about 10 feet between each of the dwellings. And that's going to require probably some action. But that's what we dealt with. Any questions?
Any questions for Councilman Gann?
The other little strip mall that's beginning to develop across from Percadilly's, what Mr. Houck may know, how many businesses are going in there? The rumors are out, there's 5, 4, 3.
3 businesses, Vance Auto, Dollar General, and a walk-in clinic.
Okay.
No Wendy's.
There was hope for a Wendy's, but my understanding is they could not fit it into that area. But my understanding is Wendy's is still looking for a place.
Right.
This is a side note, is Del Cantrell, is this office still open? It seems like
They went as far as the Herb Insurance Agency.
But it seems like their sign is down.
May have happened during the storm last
Never
week.
mind. Okay. Did Christie give any time frame as far as the houses being built?
No, I think they're wanting to get started as quickly as possible, and I think that was part of why they asked for this.
How quick from where they're at today to breaking ground? I mean, from a process, from a planning commission and all that, how long do you think that's going to be?
I don't know. That's hers. So she's not giving any indication of it.
Okay. Any other questions for Larry? You didn't have any board zoning appeal, did you?
No.
no business.
Clinton, thank you. Clinton Utilities Board report.
Yeah.
Councilman Fair.
Just a couple of updates. This next month, the Clinton Utility Board is going to, in conjunction with our Chamber of Commerce, to my knowledge, are going to roll out the policy changes that have been initiated that affect residential property, in particular, the type of property that the Hicks Group is developing and some others, in hopes that we encourage some rooftops, because rooftops sort of helps drive residential or commercial development too. I wanted to also say that our general manager was recognized by the TVPPA for his outstanding service, and he was presented with a distinguished service award at the TVPPA conference. And I'm real proud of our general manager, Greg Fay. He's been doing an exceptional job. This year's been rather difficult. We've lost 2 individuals off of our staff, and it's a lot of years to replace. And the general manager has just exceeded my expectations, and I'm just very, very proud of what he's done. I'm also going to miss, Dan and Ernie as they retire. And we're probably looking at, as you can see on our water, we've been losing some money on the water and sewer. And so I anticipate that we'll probably have to look at adjusting some rates in the future. Any questions?
Any questions for Councilman Farah? Zach, with the changes with the building code, I guess the charges for the building codes promoting development and all that, have y'all talked about or working to put in place an appeal process for these developers?
I believe there is one right now. If you can always come to the board, but we would like you to direct your attention to the general manager first.
Sure.
It's been my experience, and I think I'm going to speak for Steve Combs too. A lot of people we ask, have you met with Greg? And oftentimes the answer is, well, I haven't. So we encourage them to, well, go sit down with general managers and management and see if we can't get this worked out. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, it gets worked out right there. So, yeah, there is an appeals process. If they're not real happy, they can always come talk to the board. But I tend to side with the experts, and the experts sit to my right at that board, and so I tend to lean heavily on what General Manager Fay tells me, and I trust his judgment. So anyway, there is an appeals process.
Well, I agree with you 100% what you just said. I would just make sure there was something that's set as far as the process, and maybe even put it when we communicate this through the chamber, that this is the process, and I think it's going to save you all, the board, a lot of time and grief, if you will.
Right.
Someone calling you first, and I agree 100% it needs to go through Greg, because if Greg can certainly make things happen, and from a protocol standpoint, I think it should go to the general manager anyway. So I'm just really reinforcing the fact that I would encourage that to happen if it already hasn't happened.
Right. And then one more thing. So Greg's been working with Anderson County Economic Development Board, with the East Tennessee Economic Development Board, the TVA, TVPPA, so on and so forth. But I mean, I'm so excited about the future of what's going to happen maybe at Bull Run Steam Plant. So, it's sad, you see it closing, you think about jobs and losing, some of the economic impact, but there are plans. It's in its infancy stage, right? But I'm very, very happy that Greg Fay, and along with Mayor Burton and Roger and others in the county and Oak Ridge, the right people are at that table helping shape that future site. So just want to pass that along too.
Great. Any other questions for Zach? Thanks, Zach. Larry, we have anything under other board?
The Jazz on the Hill will be this Saturday at 6 o'clock, open to the general public. There will probably be some food vendors there. Always a good time, always good music and good times.
Is it every first Saturday of every month, or?
For the summer months.
They picked a hot time. I guess it's summer, it's gonna be hot, bring a fan. It's there.
At Greenback Caddo Museum.
Yeah.
It's on the lawn in front of the museum.
Anything else?
That's it.
Under general government report, Mr. Houck?
Thank you, Mayor. This has kind of been a fluid report since we sent it out. I think Thursday, I've changed it about 3 times. We've had a lot going on the last few days. Kind of update you on a few things. General information, the liquor by the drink lawsuit, the Supreme Court ruled on it 2 weeks ago, and it was on 5 cases, not including the one in the city of Clinton and Anderson County, but on 5 cases statewide. And they kind of used that as lumped it together to take it through the appeal process all the way to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court did rule in favor of the cities in all cases over the county's Board of Education, and we are awaiting dismissal of the current lawsuit from Chancery Court on ours. When we do, we'll actually be issuing the money we've already reserved. I think in 2014 we reserved it. $72,000 will go to our city school system, a little over $72,000 actually, that they wasn't expecting. So that's a good little bump for them. Other information, work on the Eagle Bend Road repair project has been on hold pending further guidance and directives from TVA. For your information, that part of the roadway and adjacent property that we assumed since annexation in 1981 was city Port Authority property is actually TVA property. The Eagle Bend Road right-of-way is also in question. We've been working with TVA to determine a positive solution, and as of this afternoon, we did get one. TVA has determined that there is a 36-foot right-of-way from the center of the current road. So basically, we're back to about where we need it to be. We're still going to be able to shift the road over about 20 feet. That road's about 20 feet long, so if you take 36 feet, that gives us 26 to work with, but we'll need to put some shoulders and a ditch in, so we'll still be able to shift it about 20. Other good note on this, adding this to the county's disaster report, plus Oak Ridge added some, but we were able to get declared a disaster area last week by the president. So a lot of this money we hope to get reimbursed from FEMA. We should get a good portion of it.
What kind of time frame are you thinking now? You're still about a month out?
To get started?
No, to be completed.
No, it'll be longer than that. We still probably have a month's worth of work, then we'll have to get Rogers Group in.
Okay.
So we'll probably,
End of the summer?
probably, should be.
Have we resolved the documentation issue now? We know who does own and who?
Pretty much, yeah, and that was a problem. We had several documentations, even state GIS, that was showing that piece of property as city property. We had a old Port Authority file showing that it was part of the Carden Farm Industrial Park when really it wasn't. It was part of the Eagle Bend Industrial Park that was bought back in the 70s. And that was actually the buffer zone from the industrial park to the residents, Councilman Bryan, even the residents there on Eagle Bend. So that's part of a buffer zone.
But it has been resolved now.
Yes, it has been on all of it. And actually got an email about 4:30 this afternoon confirming everything. Other information, we, in the Port Authority meeting a couple weeks ago, the question came up on condemnation and eminent domain. Through the Port Authority, they asked me to get some clarification on that, and we have done that. Included in your packet is an MTAS opinion. I've also spoke to the city attorney, 2 other attorneys, and pretty much through all 4 of them got almost identical the same answer. Eminent domain can be used by the city, but only for the public good and for the public use, and it has to be the city's use in this matter. So to condemn a piece of property, sell it, to get commercial or revenue off of it, we can't do. We could condemn a piece of property if we want to put a road in. We could condemn if there's part of J.C. Park, connected to J.C. Park, and we needed to expand on it, we could possibly do it then. The law changed, the Supreme Court law, and it was, I forget the name of it. Kelo versus the City of New Loudon.
In Connecticut.
Yes, in 2006, Supreme Court ruled in favor of the private citizen, and when they did that, that pretty well changed a lot of the state laws. Our state legislature wrote one of the toughest eminent domain laws that there is in all 50 states, so it's really hard to do, especially in Tennessee. That's kind of an answer, and I've sent that to Chairman Queener. He wanted that, and I sent it to him a week ago also.
So, I mean, to further this out a little bit, I know the whole time we've talked about magnet mills, and there's been, why can't the city just do eminent domain and sell it to a developer and all that? I don't know where all that started. But the bottom line is, we can't do that.
If we wanted, if we needed a new city hall and had a good reason, and we wanted to condemn it.
But you better
and
even
move
still
City
have a
Hall-
good reason
Yes,
there.
and move City Hall over there, that could be a possibility. But to condemn it and sell it to a private individual would be against the, I think, 5th and 14th Amendment is what the attorneys told us.
This would, I just think we need to get the word out on
We
that,
could.
because,
I mean,
it'd even be good if you could write a press release to get it to the local paper, because, this whole eminent domain thing, it just didn't come up in the last week or two. It's been something that folks, I think it's a rumor mill, but I'd like to see it squashed.
What's interesting about that too, well, first of all, it could be a park, but we're fine with parks.
Right.
That's too valuable a piece of property for a park. But, Roger, we were even talking about the landowner could sue us, but, on top of that, any taxpayer
In the city. I
can
heard
sue the
that-
city.
That's what he said, yeah.
So it'd be,
It's not something you want to mess
Oh,
around with.
no,
It's not
no.
yeah.
And
But
you
we
also
just
have to
need to
pay-
make sure folks know that.
And you also have to pay fair market value.
You have to pay fair market
It's not
value.
like you take it.
Kind of better explanation in the MTAST opinion. Property can be taken for legitimate public use in accordance with the 5th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Tennessee Act 1/21 and Chapter 863. Public use should not include either private use or benefit or indirect public benefits resulting from private economic development and private commercial enterprise.
Well, I think, I would like to see, and I don't know what the local media will do with that, but maybe if you could make that available to them, just to let it know that eminent domain's not something you mess around with.
No.
There's reasons for it, but those reasons are very specific and very limited.
The attorneys we talked to said it really has not been tested.
I don't want to
since-
test it.
Yeah, we don't want to
I don't want to
since
test it under my,
I've been on the other side of eminent domain. The house I grew up in on 600 Moore Street, and my dad basically renovated from the ground up. I remember the night he came in and said, "We got to move." And the essence of it was, I get to drive through my former living room on Seavers Boulevard now all the time. It was not pleasant. And as far as fair market value, I remember him talking about his fair market value and the state's fair market value were markedly different. And I said, "Can you not negotiate?" And he said, "I think I've got a 15% negotiating window. And other than that, it's pretty much, it's not a tool we want to use with great regularity, if at all."
well, it's good to get clarification on this, but I'm speaking for the council. I don't think, as a council, we're never in favor of eminent domain.
Yeah.
but it always come up, as such and such said this, or why can't you
Yeah.
do that, or, and all this. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Other information, our local Parks and Recreation Fund grant, which is for the South Clinton Inclusive Park, we have finally got a contract. It is dated June 1st, which is Saturday, so we can actually start some work on it next week. There's still a few other procedures we got to go through. We got to go through a procurement, get okayed on our procurement procedures. And also, we found out 2:30 today that we have to resubmit some designs showing some particulars on the playground, on fall zones, safety zones, and that's how far you got to be from any structure if a kid falls. We have to resubmit all of that. We also have to resubmit a design on the parking lot and ADA accessibility. We've already scheduled a meeting for 9 o'clock and 9:30 in the morning to get this stuff going, so we hope to be starting some demolition probably within the next 10 days, I hope, and get that project going.
Well, I hope we document this process, and, we have our elected officials here at the state level. We were involved in that Blockhouse Valley grant, which took forever, and now this is just, it's not like we're just having to go back on a lot of stuff.
Well, this is the first time Recreation Services is part of TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, and I've done, 6, 7, 8 of these grants, usually pretty easy, but they have changed their entire procedures this year. Everything's done on a portal, online. We have to submit, they okay it, go back and forth, so it's a new process for the state, it's a new process for everybody. I can't tell you this, we're the only city in the state of Tennessee that has a contract issued at this point. And that's probably due to us bugging them quite a bit about it, but they've worked with us and did get us that contract so we could move on. We had some of the private donations that Ms. McNally got actually expires midsummer, so that's why one reason we need to get going on it. But it is a lengthy process. You know, we've applied for the TDOT grant that we should know something later this summer on. You know, it's the same deal. They said if we got that grant in August, it would be September, October of 2021 before we could break ground. It's a 2-year process, so it's very lengthy.
It is.
Let's see. General government, Young versus Stamey, and Anderson County Election Commission lawsuit. The chancellor has heard and ruled in the case and issued a ruling in favor of Councilman Stamey and the Anderson County Election Commission. Mr. Young, to my knowledge, has filed an appeal for this ruling. State law per TCA 2-12-101 dictates that the municipality is responsible for the legal representation on behalf of the Election Commission. And as to date, we have received an invoice for $17,106.73. This needs City Council approval to be paid and can expect additional costs with the appeal.
So we have to make a motion on that this evening?
Yeah, which right now, and I know Councilman McBride called me one day last week and asked the question, was there any way we could recoup any of this money? We have done 2 things. One, contacted the city attorney and asked him if there was any legal action that we could recoup it. So he's researching that. We've also contacted our insurance company, which just changed their name, and I never can remember it. Public Entity Partners used to be the pool, and asked them if there any way they can get involved and help us recoup the money. So we're back and forth with them right now. So we don't have that answer. But in the meantime, if we don't find something out, we still have to pay the bill, and this is per state statute.
So we can or cannot countersue Mr.
Don't know
Young
yet.
to get the money back?
Talked to Mr. Cry Thursday, and he was going to do some researching. He didn't know if he could get back to him being a holiday weekend, which I told him that's fine. We're just going to ask for approval in case we do have to pay it.
And there is an appeal, so the appeal will cost us even more money.
There'll be, and.
Can I
yes.
address Mr. Young? Is that out of,
Fine with me.
huh? Well, I mean, my comment would be that he has come by my business several times over the last 2 or 3 years and had a list. One of his big pet peeves has been the motor vehicle fleet here at the city. The number of police cars, the number of fires. He even talked about the old fire truck and always questioning what's being bought. And all, I assume, in the gesture of being good stewards. And I just struggle with this. I mean, I'm not sure we're being good stewards of the people's money with a lawsuit, and I'm not sure we're being good stewards of the people's money with an appeal. So that's my comment. I've thought about this a lot, and we've got a broken system. Number one, that somebody can sue us for something like this and be ruled in favor, and then us having to end up paying money, or not us, the citizens, the city. I think we also need to add this to the list of things to talk to our legislators about, that the Election Commission was the one that was sued, and the way the TCA is written, that bill comes back to the municipality.
Correct.
So does the Election Commission carry insurance? And if they do, of what value is it? Because it's never going to be used. And again, I'm just, the whole big thing about this is being good stewards of the monies of the citizens, and then for things like this to happen is very distasteful.
And, well, not only that, we have to pay their bill, but they get to choose who their attorney is. We have no say-so in that.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yes, and that's part of state statute.
Because I know looking at the bill, what we're being charged for the lawyers for the Election Commission is 3 times what Mr. Stamey's bill was personally. And they didn't even go, I mean, they were in court and not heard. It was dismissed out of hand.
What's the long-term, what's the goal of this whole thing? What's the goal of this appeal? And then what's successful? What is successful? What is success in this?
And what do you think happens after it's overturned? Well, I can tell you what our charter says. It comes back to the council, and the council votes on the replacement.
If it's reversed, it's also
So,
Did the schools get a bill as well?
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
I forgot to say, they got approximately a little under $2,000 from their attorney that did some work on this initially. Initially, we were hoping just to send it to the Attorney General, who gave one opinion in '08, but the school board attorney did find some additional information to not support that ruling, so they were, I think, already had sent it to the attorney, or sent it to Lieutenant Governor McNally, who was going to sponsor it, to the Attorney General to relook at all the information and give us an opinion.
and how much was that, Bill?
2,000.
We're right under 2,000, between 1,500, 2,000.
So we're looking at.
So we can't win, so you can't win an
We're
election.
looking at $20,000 before the appeal.
Instruction, though, is that would pay for 25 to 30 Sundays. That would pay for 300 paperback books for kids in classrooms. And that money would pay for 75 hours of after-school tutoring for kids that I had to use for legal services.
Because somebody can't win an election.
And of course, the
Right.
Attorney General wouldn't give an opinion once a lawsuit was filed.
Well, what's frustrating is, I mean, we could have gone a whole different route on this. If he had a question on this, he could have gone through the district attorney or attorney general for a ruling on that. It wouldn't cost anybody anything.
And that's what the school board attorney was doing.
Yeah.
It's concerning just because you just don't know where it ends. I mean, anybody
You look at,
lose an election and
you look at that bill.
we're liable
and
for the cost.
You look at those billable hours and such, and you think, my goodness, and then we've still got hours to go.
Well, don't come back to Clinton Drugstore with the fleet pool anymore, wanting anything, because we got bigger fish to fry than that. So do we have a, I mean, we
We
got
don't
to
have
do
an
this?
option, do we?
No, I mean, I think if we've talked to both MTAS and the city attorney on it, and I mean, it's what, like we said, it's a state statute. Don't agree with it.
You'll make a motion on it.
I'll make a motion on it.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
But I do want us to file this away somewhere to help us remember this next legislative session to see about getting this. I mean, it's not right, period, but we need to talk about TCA 2-12-101.
And I would remind the council, what is it, June 21st? We have the legislative breakfast, and you'll have Randy McNally, you'll have John Reagan, you'll have several of the legislators there, and you may not get to talk to them in open meeting, but you may be able to corner them.
Larry?
It's at the community center, I believe.
Community center, okay.
Your motion is to pay.
As
Reluctantly,
the 17-106-73.
under duress.
Yeah.
This might be one I just vote no for, just to,
As a
just in
token.
spite of it, yeah. That's ridiculous.
Well, I
Have
had
a
to
motion and a
I had to
second.
make the motion.
Rob seconded
Can I
it.
vote no on my own motion?
Well, I've seen other boards do it. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
Let's see,
You
finance.
know what,
of the-
let me
Go ahead.
give me one more comment on that. I guarantee the rate we're going, and I don't think it's gonna be overturned personally, but I'm not a lawyer, this is gonna take 2 years anyway. So even if it does happen, we'll have a special election, or it's gonna be a month in between, or what, and we can appeal as long as we need to
As
get
long as
that
you got
2-year
money.
period.
Well, the charter says if there's a vacancy in the seat, the council appoints someone to fill out, not that term, but to the next election of the city, and there'll be a special election then to fill that seat. So in this case, if they ruled against E.T., he would vacate the seat, you all would appoint somebody till the next election, which would be November of 2020.
2020.
Yes.
And then that person would only serve a
Serve
2-year
2
term.
years, fill out the rest of that term, yes.
Right. But that's not gonna happen anyway. Ron, I was gonna ask, this is ridiculous. Do what's right. You have a chance to drop the case. Just do what's right and let's move on. You're a good citizen of the Clinton. You've lived here all your life. We're throwing money away.
Finance, I'll defer to Gail.
You've got your sales tax report. I put that in late today. City was down about 3%. County was up almost 12%. That's that's countywide, so you gotta keep, that's Oak Ridge or whatever the case may be. Year-to-date, though, we're still up 5%, which is really good for our numbers this year. Revenues are 89% of budget, so we're ahead of year-to-date, even though we're a month behind on timing on some of them. Property taxes collected as of Friday was 96.3% of our aggregate. We're actually over budget, so our collections have come in very well this year. Our expenditures are well within budget if you take out capital outlay. So we're gonna close with a good year this year.
Since you said something about property tax, what's up with our delinquent? I brought that up 2 or 3 months ago, a couple of months ago, pursuing that. What's the status of Mr. Cry?
He has pursued some of those. I don't know exactly where he's at in the process. I know he did notification, and I don't know what years those were for. I've got a list that I can give you all that will show what properties, basically the catch-all is the ones that have paid county and have not paid city.
Correct.
If they have not paid both, they will be filed under a county suit. But we
Right.
do have some properties that are in that catch-all, and so those are the ones he's pursuing. And I know
Right.
he has done notice on them, but I don't know where he's at with them. But I do have a list.
Is that
of them.
something you keeping, you're
We are trying to
prodding
keep up.
along every now
Yes.
and then? Okay.
Yes.
Just don't want us to lose that. And again, it's not the dollar amount, but it's the precedent that we're setting that,
Well, and we actually have, there's a couple of nice properties, a couple of commercial properties.
okay.
You'd be surprised.
Don't let that fall off, I'd like to ask the staff, don't let that fall off the radar.
Any questions for Gail? Gail, before we do I'll tell you, if you don't mind doing it now, because you gave us kind of the highlights of the budget, would you mind doing?
Roger's got, he's prepared for all.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine.
Yep.
Can we go ahead now?
Well, yeah, it'd probably be okay.
Which we present this year's budget to you, just kind of some things. Included in is a 3% pay increase for employees. We've increased the 401K contribution from $10 to $15 a paycheck, so it's a couple extra perks for employees. Of course, this is a budget with no tax increase. We've included an additional $150,000 into our paving fund, which is one of our capital outlay funds. Health insurance, we're still planning on paying 100% of health insurance. We have budgeted a 15% increase. We have already made some mid-year salary adjustments for both public safety, that's police and fire. We did some minor operational adjustments in this budget. We do that every year, meeting with the department head. We have created an enhanced employee assistance program, and this is mainly for police and fire. The one we've got now is just a phone call, all that an employee can do. This would actually give a police, fireman, any employee that was in a situation, they felt like they needed some assistance, that they would actually send someone out of council out to talk to them. It costs us $3,500 to cover all 110 employees that we've got. Just a couple of notes. We will be updating our pay plan. We did submit you one, but in looking at it during the budget process, it's not been updated in many years. So since we got an HR director on staff now, we feel like we don't need to do as some other cities do and contract this out. We'll work on it after the first of the fiscal year and try to come up with a little more reasonable, more detailed pay plan for all employees. Let's see.
So what's in the packet is the old pay
Yeah,
plan?
it's the current one we're under right now. We just need to update some positions where they're at in categories. Some of them are probably, I don't want to say out of line, but out of whack a little bit, and we just need to look at it.
And that's something that the HR person is doing, because I mean, I remember when I first started on council, we had the pay plan, but we didn't have people correctly classified.
That's what we want to do.
I mean, like even the police chief was, you know, he was topped out, but he wasn't topped out in the right pay grade.
Well-
Previous things that happened that occurred. So I mean, but this is something that with an HR person, along with department heads, once certain things are achieved and you move from this rank to
Right.
that rank, that's something that's regularly looked at, right? Is that correct? I mean,
Yes, or we're actually, with the HR director, that's what we're doing now, looking
Good.
at it more closely, and that's how it kind of came up during the budget process, that we need to,
it almost has to be something probably that's looked at very frequently.
pretty much.
And the department heads would work with the HR person to make sure that's done.
Correct.
Okay. Because we had a lot of people back then who were maxed out, but they were maxed out in the wrong pay grade.
Right.
And that was, so they were underpaid, basically.
And that's one reason too, we've had a lot of retirements here lately, so a lot of those guys that may be, you know, a maintenance man in the recreation department, been here 35 years, was making quite a bit more money than a patrolman or a fireman or a sergeant. So that's where we got to some way try to balance that.
Right.
You know, we want to pay for longevity, and we want to give those guys because they do a good job, but we need to make sure, you know, everybody's in the right category, 'cause
Okay.
and that'll help balance that out.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Surplus vehicles?
Pardon?
You still got your surplus vehicles?
Yes, still got to do that. Basically, Gil, anything I left out?
I don't think so.
That got
Can I ask something on this, since we're talking about budget? This has been something that was on my radar, I know last year, I think even the year before, and that has to do with the billboard at the interstate that the city helps fund for downtown. Tell me the specifics of that. I know that there was a $5,000 contribution, but I guess my question is what's that dollar amount? And I'm not sure that I am for continuing that with the city paying anything. I mean, I think if the merchants want it, maybe they do it, but what's the specifics on that? What's that cost? How much does the city pay, and how much do those merchants pay?
Right now, we have a one-year contract with Lamar Advertising, and it's been going on for several years. I don't know how many. But current contract for the 3 billboards, the total price is $20,310. And the merchant's share, and I don't know how much they turned in last week, but their share of that should have been $5,077. Now, I know, talking to...
Is that the way it's always been? Has the city always paid 75% of that?
As far as I know, has been since I've been up here.
Well, is that what's in this budget?
It's currently in the budget right now.
As just like this?
Yes.
So with the city paying roughly $15,000?
Right. And what they just paid last week was actually for 2018-19.
So when does this contract come back up again?
July 1. I have not signed anything yet. So the new contract will be July 1. Usually we pay a monthly payment, and the merchants, when it kind of gets towards the end of the fiscal year, they pay their share.
Well, my status on this, or my stand, and this was my stand last year, is that if the city's going to contribute anything, then it's somebody else's turn to have the billboard. It's South Clinton's turn. It's the businesses on the boulevard. It's the auto parts stores. It's there's other businesses that also bring revenue in, and sales tax, collect sales tax. And I mean, my initial thought, and when it comes time, I'll make a motion that contract be terminated with the city. Now, if the merchants want to do it, that's fine.
Right.
But I just don't think the city needs to be spending $15,000 of city money, and there's other businesses in town that don't get that benefit.
Right. Okay. One thing I did, Mr. Raines did call me a couple weeks ago when they were trying to collect the money, and he said it was kind of getting harder, and he can speak on this, that we got a lot of new merchants on Market Street that are not antiques. And of course, a lot of them were using social media, and some of them didn't want to pay because they said, they had 30 friends, they could post something on social media, and those 30 friends have got 30 friends, and that they could get it out there much quicker if they had something on sale, and usually get a better response.
And my gesture is not, I mean, I wish those merchants success, I wish them well, but I just don't think it's fair to the other businesses. I mean, I'm a drugstore, there's other independent drugstores, there's chain drugstores in town, there's how many auto parts stores in town, there's insurance agents, there's hardware stores. I mean, Ace Hardware, I mean, they don't get any value from this, they're collecting sales tax. So that's my basis, it's not that, but I just don't think that we need to spend city money specifically for a group of businesses. And if we're going to start something like this, or if we're going to continue something like this, then maybe we do like the county does with its fire truck. They used to do, every so many years, this particular entity gets a truck, then this one, maybe we rotate it around. But I am not, I don't know if that's the time right now to make that, but.
It'll be during the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing, in the police department, we have removed the following vehicles from service and are recommended that they are declared surplus and placed on the GovDeals website for disposal. I won't read the VIN numbers, y'all got them, but a 2009 Ford Crown Victoria, a 2004 Chevrolet Blazer, and a 2001 Can-K System Speed Radar Trailer.
Hear a motion to approve?
So, second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Any questions for Roger?
Yeah, Mr. Houck, a couple of employees have asked me since the word got out that we were probably going to pay the $17,000 on this lawsuit. Will this have any way, shape, or form effect in our budget for the raises this year?
Well, you know, it may not this year, but it could next year, because we're going to have to take the money on the undesignated fund balance, and depending on the number, you know, how long the appeal process and how much more attorney fees that are racked up, I mean, it could, you know,
Well, the
money's
citizens
got to
paying,
come from somewhere, I should be, it should be the,
citizens paying the majority of this. I'm getting hit twice on it because I had to pay my attorney fees. And now if the citizens are paying this, now I'm getting hit twice on this one. And I hadn't done anything wrong. So, but anyway, you don't think it'll affect the raises this year?
probably not this year, but it, I mean, like I said, it's got to come out of the fund balance, which will, you know, affect into next year. You know, we usually try to surplus, if we have any surplus money, we try to earmark that for some capital projects. So, you know, if we take 20,000 out of this year's, that's 20,000 less for capital projects next year.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else? Thanks. Can you approach the podium, please? Name and address.
My name is Deborah Heaton, and we live on Wilson Avenue, which is right across from where they are going to put the Dollar General and the Advanced Auto Parts and the walk-in clinic. My concern is the traffic flow. It's already really thick through there, and a lot of times it's hard for us to pull in and out. And I was just wondering if you all know how they are going to set that up for traffic to go in and out of that center.
I've not seen the site plans. I know, and you may contact John Householder. He's our new building inspector, and he actually, I was talking to him at 7 this morning, and he had the plans laying on his desk, so he would have that information.
Okay.
If you just want to call City Hall, he's usually in early in the mornings, but just call and ask for John Householder, and he'll have the plans that should show the traffic ingress to the business.
And there are set requirements, especially that being a state road,
Yes.
as far as what needs to be done for those businesses to go in.
Okay, because I have a son that's getting ready to turn 16, and I'm kind of worried about him
Understand.
pulling out on that road
Understand,
anyway.
yeah.
And also, do you all know what the building is going to look like? Is it going to be aesthetically pleasing, or is it going to look like the one that's over in South Clinton?
Have no idea.
No idea.
That I don't. Like I said, it'll be on those plans he just received, he's got. So.
Okay, well, thank you all so much.
I'll try to see if we can get some plans on that and put them online anyway.
Okay, thanks.
I've got
Thank
a
you.
copy, but all the board does, but I didn't bring it. I don't remember exactly what it looked like.
And I haven't seen it.
Okay. Any other questions for Roger? Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it. Under ordinances and resolutions, first reading of our new ordinances. That's ordinance number 642 for the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is where I'd like to make a motion to amend. What line item is that coming up?
I'll have to ask Gail that one.
It is line item 46510-237.
Hang on just a second, I'm trying to find it here.
It's actually under industrial and community development, under advertising.
What'd you say again? I'm sorry.
46510-237. It's way down below recreation. It's
Okay,
currently
that-
proposed budget of 14,000.
So we would need to decrease that by 15,300 or,
Now, we're requesting 14,000. So if you're wanting to take it completely out.
what else comes out of that line item?
Nothing.
Okay, so I would make a motion to take that line item down to zero.
At discussion, Don, just hold on just for a second, we can get you up there, okay? Is that your motion? You want to say it all in one?
What's that now? To remove or to, I mean, for line item 46510, which is 237 advertising, to take that to zero, and the city not be responsible for any portion of the billboard advertising downtown, or yeah.
You hear a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Does it need a second to have a discussion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Second for a discussion. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Don, would you like to come up this time, please? Just state your name and address.
Home address.
Home address, please.
Home address.
Yeah.
My name's Don Raines. You want my home address?
That's what they told me. They
Okay,
wanted the home address. They didn't.
7029 Marley Park, Knoxville. I own several buildings and a business on Market Street. Just on the billboards, I don't know the full history on the billboards, but when they were originally started, it was by the Chamber of Commerce was in that, and it was my understanding the 75% of the money came from the hotel motel tax at the interstate.
Well, is that the
But-
way it is today?
Well, hotel motel tax is just general revenue to us. We don't particularly slate it as anything. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we do throughout the city that we associate with community development, tourism, whatever. So we don't target general revenues for any particular thing.
But, you know, the billboards have been around now for about 15 years. And I think any of you will know the change that has taken place in this downtown in 15 years too. It went from a, deserted downtown to what it is now. But, before we jump the gun and pull the billboards, myself and any business down there can tell you we benefit from those. And anyone between exit 122 is going to benefit from that also. Get and Go, any restaurant, your store, Hammers, anybody is going to pick up business from that. To just target something like that.
Well, I'm the one who brought it up. I'm not necessarily targeting it, but I mean, how about we change it to say, shop the businesses on the boulevard.
Sure,
Or shop the
it says
businesses in
historic
South
downtown
Clinton.
Clinton.
I mean, but my point is, there's no other advertising means that the city is involved with in advertising businesses.
Right.
Unless I'm
We have two,
mistaken or
and
missing
we use
something.
this out of the state money for the Green McAdoo Museum, but that comes out of the.
That
state
comes out
money.
of their money.
Yes,
Yeah.
state museum money.
Any of your historic towns you go to around here, you see one for Sweetwater, you see one for Dandridge. Morristown even has billboards, and they're not as close to the interstate as we are.
Right, I'm from there.
But, more than Market Street benefits from these billboards.
Maybe we just need to redesign content.
Yeah, have different verbiage.
Well, my recommendation.
The biggest word on there is Clinton. It jumps out at you.
Is maybe two things. I think we have one southbound between here and the interstate, then two northbound between here and Knoxville. That if we want to look at a couple of things, if we want to change instead of historic downtown, I could ask, they have some pretty good, I usually just leave it up to them when we redo these, have them come up with maybe a different design. And then also maybe look at pricing two instead of three, one each direction instead of two. I don't know what the thought process was, one south and two north, and
There's two south, one
is it
north.
two south?
Right.
So, other way around. So I could have her.
And I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, if we want to say something about the city of Clinton itself.
Well, I know-
But
And what I was going to say, Don, it even said he had trouble collecting the money this
Right.
year.
We,
so-
we met the goal, though.
but, if we cut it to two, I'm sure it's going to be,
And if we
cheaper.
cut it to two and you do Clinton, I went to 40 businesses downtown. I'm not going to everybody in Clinton to collect money. I've been the collector for the last few years. Maybe the council can go out and stand at the red lights with buckets.
I'm not.
Right.
Well, if you cut it down to two, the 14,000 that's budgeted should
Well-
cover.
I spoke with Lamar a few years ago when they were reskinning the billboards, and that question came up, and at that time, what we were paying, the billboard that's at exit 122 coming south, all those other billboards you see there with us, they pay more than $21,000 a year for that one billboard. So Clinton's basically getting two free.
I think Jim's point is he's, from what I hear, it's an equity argument. It's trying to be fundamentally fair to all the business owners.
Right.
In Clinton, and now I will say, I agree with Don, if somebody gets off at that exit, they're driving right by your drugstore,
Oh, it's
right?
not,
So-
well, I'm not.
They're
I
driving by
even said
Walmart,
South-
they're
I
driving
even-
by Get and
I
Go,
even
they're
said
driving by
South-
all
Right.
those restaurants.
But I think it drives traffic to the town, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's, historic downtown Clinton certainly benefits from those, but we're not driving people to come to the automobile, shop, right? We're not driving people necessarily to come to an insurance agency. We're trying to drive them to a destination location, and then they stop by Ace Hardware, they stop by Get and Go, or they stop by Clinton Drugstore, I hope. I think it can and does benefit the other business owners. But I think I would just give it another year to do a study or do some sort of figure out, like, before we just hit eject and scrap it all together. There's got to be tangible ways we can measure what's the benefit of that, and then maybe we can do a redesign, maybe more general in terms of just benefiting Clinton. But I just want to also say, and if I'm hearing you right, you're just saying, hey, look, let's be fair to everybody, right?
Exactly. There's lots of businesses collect sales tax. And there's lots of businesses who pay property tax and who pay personal property tax and business taxes. And my point is that no other group of businesses, again, I use South Clinton as an example. I use people west of Rusty Wallace Chevrolet. If they do go to downtown, that's as far as they go. They're not going to come other. And I have been approached by, of course, and I'm careful to say because of my business. I do not want to use my influence up here for my business. I have been approached by some folks in South Clinton who talk about, there's several businesses. Now, there's turnover in South Clinton of some businesses, but there are several businesses in South Clinton. So,
Well, but that setup there has to be a wow factor. You can't put a auto mechanic.
oh, I know, that's the extreme. That's the extreme. Insurance agent, there's not going to be somebody from Ohio come down and see the Allstate
Wow, look at
agent.
that insurance agency.
Yeah.
Let's go over there.
Yeah, they're not going to happen.
Like the Ridge Theater
Yeah,
and stuff
I
like that,
understand.
it
I
has to have
understand
a big
that.
impact. And plus, I kind of question how effective they are.
I don't think they're as effective as they used to be as a
I think
whole.
they're very effective. We, every weekend, have customers, we ask them when they come in, how did you find us? And most of them find us from the billboards.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Well, let me,
Myself and about any store down there will tell you that.
How long would it take for a redesign? So we may know by next month.
I mean, you got
Compromise.
second reading.
We'll compromise.
Yeah,
We don't
second
need
one's
two
the same.
billboards going the same way. Go to two billboards, then Don doesn't have to collect any more money, and make them a little bit more generic.
you just looked at my notes.
Great minds.
That's what I was going to recommend, that I understand what Don is saying.
Do a
If you look,
rewrite.
more generic for the city, just for Clinton, shop Clinton instead of shop historic downtown, it wouldn't be fair for y'all to pay and nobody else in the city to pay.
Right.
and it'd be
Right now,
almost
they say
impossible to collect.
antiques, dining,
Right.
Well, you could
And
put
so
Clinton
I
with
especially
the
so.
Rips and historic shops. and-
yeah.
So I could ask them to do a
Oscar's
redesign,
Drugstore.
taking all of that in mind, cutting it to two boards, knowing that the
second reading.
merchants are not going to be
Well,
able
I
to
think
collect,
that's-
and maybe it would stay within our budget.
That should be in the form of a different motion. I think this,
I don't
it
mind,
goes away.
and I don't mind if it's in order to amend my motion.
There's also grant money out there for these billboards too.
But you're saying one billboard is 20,000 and we're
Is what
actually-
Lamar told me about 4 years ago. The one at 122 that we paid, the 21,000 total for 3, all the others around that one pay more than that.
So we're essentially buying one, getting two free.
Getting two free, right.
Well,
Well,
the one we got for McAdoo, we're just paying like 48 for it. And we only have one that's at the first 122, or in between the two, not 122, 129. Right
They're not happy about it.
And I certainly respect the conversations that we've been having, but I think the biggest difference between this Market Street, this historic downtown area is, I mean, we can debate this, but these businesses really aren't sustainable.
What do you mean?
Well, how many people can make a living with antiques? Follow my point here for a minute. I mean, right.
You got, the majority, half those stores have been there over 10 years.
Right, but it's not like, there's been businesses before, like Ace Hardware, Clinton Drug, Hammers, some others, that they've moved and they made business decisions, and I respect that. But for business to survive downtown without the advertising and what we're supporting really decreases their opportunity to be successful.
Right.
You know, and that's my point is, I think we need help. I mean, you know,
A big draw is historic downtown.
well, I think this is and I was here in the 80s that downtown was empty.
I was here in 2000. It
And
was
in the
empty when I
previous
came.
administration, I tipped my hat. They did a lot of good things to do the sidewalks and invest downtown, bring you guys in, and you're probably one of the first ones that invested downtown. And I think, just looking, I'd rather make an investment of $15,000 a year versus risking going back to where that
Where it
was.
was.
Because it's going to cost us a whole lot more money than that.
Right.
So that's my feeling. I think if you change the signs, which we've got enough money, everybody's got enough money this year to continue on the program.
Well,
And
that
I'm
was
like,
for
and
this year.
my fear is that if we change the contract with Lamar, they may change the price too. So, but I think we should keep it the same. There's been a lot of good activity, a lot of good energy downtown. And again, let's don't get too careless with this, because this is a fragile part of town that we've now is starting to grow a little bit, and there is more diversity down there.
Right.
And maybe we might get to a point where, you know, there might be more shops than antique shops, and maybe downtown's on their feet, so to speak. They're crawling now. Now they're out on their feet and be able to do things on their own. But I don't think downtown's there yet, and I fully support it.
Well, you do have a more diversity down there.
Just a minute, please.
You know, there's several other shops. We have the CrossFit training. We have a couple for the photography, a couple event places. A couple in the back have opened up a woodworking shop. So there is more than just antiques on Market Street. So once again, that's why I would say, you know, let's look at a different style of sign and maybe cutting it to two to benefit all our merchants.
You could say
This is just the first reading
And I could-
too, so
Yeah.
we got
Yeah, I
time to
would
find
bring it
out all
back
that
to next week.
You
information.
could say historic Clinton.
Only one member of the family can speak. State your name and address,
Okay,
please.
I'm Donna Raines. I live with Dawn. But I was just going to remind you guys that Clinton is number 9 in the nation. We're recognized by Voters Travel. And we're top. Yeah. We're the largest antique district in the South. So, you know, the billboards they really do help and bring a lot of people. So, thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wait a minute, is
Wait a
the
minute,
motion stand on the floor, or is we go
What's-
amend it?
what are we-
Withdraw it and just direct staff to act.
You could, yeah, you could withdraw it and ask us to bring back an option.
You still have the option to approve the Lamar, so you can leave the budget as is, and you still can direct for the Lamar contract completely separately from the budget. We're not gonna spend unless you approve a contract.
But does the contract come before us? Is that dollar figure enough that it comes before us?
I mean, you can always direct it to
Okay.
come to you.
Then I'll withdraw my motion, and then where do I make a motion?
The budget is, and if Roger needs to bring the budget to you in an amended state, he can, and we always show it as amended and let you know what we've amended.
So are you saying you want me to bring back some options
Yes,
at the June meeting?
yes.
We need that in form of a motion.
I think you just direct me to.
I think we probably need a motion on that.
Get a motion in.
I'll withdraw the motion.
I agree.
You need to make a motion on that.
Make a motion on what?
On what you're asking them to
To
do.
direct, yeah, I already have, yeah. I'll make a motion to bring the Lamar contract back to council
With
for
options.
approval, with options.
Okay.
You got a second on that? Have a
Second.
motion? Your second?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker? Councilman
Yes.
Fair?
Yes.
And Mayor Burton?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
That was just the motion, right?
Yeah.
Now
Now
we're
you're
back.
back
to
to
Back
budget.
to the budget.
So, any further discussion on the ordinance number 642, the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget?
First reading, right?
First reading. Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman, who made a motion?
Nobody.
I make a motion.
They originally.
We already had a
made
motion in a
before.
second.
Okay.
We've had discussion.
Zach made it and Jim seconded it.
I
There
got
we
you
go.
right there.
Okay.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Fair?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 642 passes on first reading. Second and final reading of ordinance number 641. This is amending the mobile food truck vending regulations. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Councilman Hatmaker?
Yes.
Councilman Fair?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 641 passes on second and final reading. Any old business before us? Any new business? Motion to adjourn? Meeting is adjourned.
Started to pull the trigger on something else now.
Oh, I forgot about that. That'd have been a good one to ask.
Next week.
Oh, okay.